Okay, I'm going to make a threaded insert, and I'm starting with a piece of white wood here. I believe it's maple or birch, won't matter. And this is going to be the threaded part of the insert. And the threaded part is going to go into the body of the urn. So I'm going to drill a hole in here. That's where the ashes would be put in, and the threaded part is going to be on the outside of this piece here. This is going to be the piece that goes down over the top, that's going to have the mortise in it. I'll call this a tenon, call this a mortise, and it's going to screw down. It's going to be in the lid of the urn. So first thing I need to do is think about, well, this has to go down over the top of this. So what I'm going to do is take the parting tool and reduce the diameter I can always cut this down later to be the size that I want it to be deep, but I want to get enough threads on there so that I have some options about where I cut. Now the top, this part that's going to screw down over it, is going to have threads inside it. We'll take care of that in a little bit. So the question is whether to drill the hole first, drill the hole now. It's going to be more stable if I drill the hole later than to drill the hole now, because I'll know where the edge of the threads will be, and there's more wood in there to support this. Now the question is there going to be is this wood going to be good enough to put threads in, or is it going to fall apart? And one way to take care of that is to take some thin super glue that's going to seep into wood, especially the end grain, and harden it to some degree. You can see on the face of it here that it's sinking into the wood a little ways at least. I'm going to harden that with some accelerator and just give it a quick shot. Accelerator. Now I'm going to take this over to the threading machine, and we'll put some threads on there. This is a Bonnie Klein threading machine. It has this tailstock has a spindle in it that will accept the chuck. So I'm going to put that on there like that. Might be on there good and tight. And this is a cutter up here, a 60-degree thread cutter. It's in a holder that goes on the front spindle. You can see the teeth on it are 60 degrees. It goes on a spindle like that. I got to get this back. And I've got to pull this out far enough so that I can get to the back of the tenon. And then I'm going to back it off and come out as I cut these threads, because I want to be turning this in the opposite direction than the spindle is turning this way, so I have to turn this way so I don't pull the chuck off of the spindle. So it's sitting right at the edge right now. I'm going to back it out a little bit. Turn this on. And crank it in. This is locked down. I'm just going to bring it out. It's not cutting anything yet. I'll crank it a little bit further. It's cutting, this is 16 thread spring, so it's cutting 16 thread springs. Turn it off, back it out, take it back in, and make a second pass. Line up the cutter with the end of the thread. Alright, I'm going to start it. Plug it in. This wood's a little softer, and the grain isn't as tight as it would be if it were dogwood or blackwood or something like that. So I'm going to take the opportunity now to brush it off and put a little bit more glue on it. Put another layer of super glue in the threads. Let that set. Once that glue is set, I can make a third run at the threads. Get it set back at the bottom. Crank it in. A little bit more than that. Turn it off now. Thinking that that's going to work. So I'm going to take the chuck off. And we'll take the camera back over to the other lathe. Now I have to say that the tighter the grain on the wood, like blackwood or dogwood, the better the threads will cut. And here we're using super glue to make these this grain hard enough so that the threads can be cut. But we'll see how it works out. So now what I want to do is I want to taper this down to that the first thread. So this is going to go into the body of the urn, and the ashes are going to go down through this hole. Clean up this outer edge, I hope, without messing up the threads. That looks really good. Now, the other part of that is making the mate that's going to go over that. So we had a cutoff here that we can use, and we're going to drill a hole in here and then thread the inside of that hole. And we're going to put a hole in here that is smaller than the outside of these threads. So I need my caliper to measure the outside of these threads. So the question is, how much smaller does this have to be? Well, these are about a 32nd of an inch deep. So if we want to be at least a 1/16 of an inch deep, smaller. So right now, I'm about 2 1/10 inches, and I'm going to go down to 2 inches. And that should be about right. Now, it's always easier to take more off than it is to can't put it back on. So I'm going to go a little smaller than that. And my guides here are this: the outside, this is the inside diameter of the threads. This is the outside diameter of the threads. And I'm going to go to the inside diameter because I'm going to cut the threads into that space. And I'm going to put a pencil mark in there so I can see it better. Again, I'll use my spindle gouge. Come out to that line. I want to come straight in, so I'm going to get a skew and run it straight in there. And put it straight in on the line that I made and make this as perpendicular to the range bed as I can. This should not fit in there, and it doesn't. So so far we're good. So we go back to the threading machine. I've got this back on the threading machine, and I've put some glue in there and hit it with accelerator to harden up the wood a little bit. And now, since I'm cutting on the inside and I have to come from the outside to go in, I need to cut on this side so that I'm going against the rotation of the bit. The bit is rotating this way, this has to rotate this way. Okay, this will be going this way. So I want to be right on this edge right here. There's my line showing the outside of the threads on the other piece. I don't want to do it all in one take, so I'm going to back it off a little bit. And we'll see how that goes. So what I have to do is mark this so I get it back in the chuck in the same place. And I can take it out of the chuck. And see if it fits. And it is just a hair off from fitting. One more cut on the inside of this top and it will fit. So what I'm going to do is put some more of that thin glue in there and I'll be back. Right, I'm back. I'm going to have to line this up in the chuck. I had it lined up with the number 1 jaw. And recut it. Now, if I'm lucky, I'll screw together and we have our insert. This is the same way you'd make a threaded box, except that for the insert we're going to cut them off so that we can put it into the top of the urn. So we'll go ahead and do that part and move the back over to the other lathe. Okay, for the final steps, there's a few little things we have to clean up here. One of them is that we need a place for the top. If it's going to sit side against here, we've got to get rid of this extra space down here on the bottom because the threads don't go down that far. So even if the top could go all the way down, it wouldn't hit. It would stop about a 1/16 inch short of the bottom. So I'm going to take a small scraper. Actually, I'm going to look for a little different scraper than this and cut away that wood at the bottom. And I have a scraper right here. It looks to be about right size. Okay, theoretically, if the top is thread deep enough, these will seat. But it's not cut deep enough because it's hitting the threads, these threads here, or this section here, the tenon is longer than the mortise. Two things we can do about that. We can take some out of the middle of the top so that the mortise goes all the way in, or we can cut this off so it's shorter so that it meets the bottom part of the threads on the top. I'm going to take some off the top and see how it fits. And then if not, I'll have to take some off of here. Alright, so I have a small parting tool. I'm going to remove some of this wood down here so that the inside edge, the inside of the tenon can go into the mortise. Let's see how that works. It's closer, but it's not going all the way in yet. And what I really need is a little hook thing that would get behind these threads. And I don't have that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here like this and get behind these threads. Let's see how that works. Yeah, much better. So there we have an insert going to the bottom. And I'm going to wait until I work with the top before I cut this off, because I have no way of holding it and adjusting it if I cut it off now. On the bottom I can always expand into the middle here and arrange to cut this off a little bit if I have to. And that'll go together just fine.